In the words of Slinky Dog, fellas, I got some good news and I got some bad news. And everyone says, what news? What news? And then he says, the good news is this Let's Play shouldn't have any more delays. No, Slinky doesn't say that in the movie, but that is the news. I don't expect this LP to be updated daily from now on, but I do expect it to be fairly consistent, as opposed to having, like, a month-long gap or 3 months between 2 parts. So, that's the good news, or at least, hopefully that's good, because this game has to be finished eventually. The bad news, which isn't so bad, but it's still a little bit unfortunate, is, for the most part I'm going to be post-commentating it as opposed to live commentating it. And I'll go over the reasons why in a moment. This part in particular would be the first post-commentated part. You would say, no, actually part 42 was, but that one was pre-commentated because I recorded the rant first. But anyways, here's Flathead Screwdriver, who can apparently smell evil. I like this. There are 30, no, at most 20 of them ahead. I think it's refreshing, because there's so much about this game that's just, here are the facts. Go get 'em, cowboy. But in this case, there's a little bit of uncertainty, there's a little bit of hesitation in that particular line, and I think it makes the game a little bit more human. Personality. Flaws. It's great. Flaws are perfection. And now we'll stay silent for this cutscene because it is nice. It's a cool opening. Very dramatic. For a less than dramatic sequence, but hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how complicated the gameplay is, as long as it feels cool. That's maybe a philosophy that I've recently adopted. Perhaps. So as far as the post-commentating stuff goes, I will still try to keep this, for the most part, feeling, hopefully, like a live commentated series. I'm gonna go back to actual live commentary, I think, with the Cave of Ordeals, and the last 2 dungeons, but until then there are gonna be a lot of side quests, and there's gonna be the City in the Sky. So, yeah, that'll be fun. I have no idea what I'm gonna say for most of this. Especially since I don't have a controller in my hands and I can't go, you know, I'm gonna do this, just for fun. Or I might notice something and, you know, it definitely feels more authentic to record live. But the thing is, and this is gonna sound really stupid when I say it, I think, but it's inconvenient to turn this game on because it's a GameCube game on the Wii. And I think anyone who has played a GameCube game on the Wii will maybe sympathize or empathize with that, because, you know, in order to start up a GameCube game, you have to go through the Wii menu with the Wii remote, point the remote at the button that says GameCube game, and then at the next button that says, okay, yes, I actually do want to play this. And that's what starts the game officially. Whereas if you were playing on an actual GameCube, you could just turn the game on, and that's it. That's all you'd have to do. It's not a big deal, and it would be less of a big deal if I had a different setup from the one that I do. But since I moved fairly recently, not super recently, but like in the past 6 months, there's still not full furniture in my room. My TV that I normally would play things on, it isn't on any furniture yet. At the moment it's just on the floor, and all the game systems and the cords are just in a mess on the floor in front of it. Which also means that the sensor bar for the Wii is just kind of haphazardly on the floor. And the TV that I look at to play these games isn't even that TV. It's a small monitor-sized TV that usually serves as my second monitor. So, whenever I start this game, I have to point the Wii remote at a different TV from the one that I'm actually looking at, and it's a sensor bar. Like, I have to point it at a sensor bar on the floor, so it's not even perfectly even with where I want it to be, because it's just in a mess of other cords, and Like, yeah, it's just... It's that ever so slight bit of inconvenience that's demotivating. Kind of like whenever you want to do your homework, but then you realize it's still in your backpack, and then you'd have to unzip your backpack and get out your binder, and then you'd have to pull the homework out of your binder, and that's just, that's so much work. Even though it's not that much work, but it's still, Like, who wants to do that? So it's a lot easier to just say, you know, I guess I'll do my homework now if it's already out there and it's already in front of you. So that might be kind of stupid, but thing is, I don't want to have to, like, turn on the game with that bit of a hassle and then only record for, like, 20 minutes. Because that doesn't feel like it's worth it to me. I always want to record for longer than that, but the thing is, usually I don't want to talk for longer than that. So I'd rather have a system where I can play for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours if I want to, and then, you know, just if I want to talk for 20 minutes, then I can. I don't have to fill up that whole time period. And I think it's also helpful for this upcoming section of the game because so much of it is going to be side quests and it's going to be all over the place. And spoiler alert, I play the side quests very inefficiently and I got a blue rupee. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of cutting and fading probably. I haven't edited all that together, but here's the sneakiest monster here. Then I get stuck behind a keg, but luckily Link gets warped out of that area during this cutscene. Yeah, just enough about that. The updates should be more consistent now. I don't think that my commentary will change too much as a result of this, because I don't really react to the game very much anyways, since it's a game that I've played before and I know most of what I'm doing. But even still, it won't be quite as authentic, but we'll just see how it goes. Now this character... I'm waiting for a line in a moment here. As this nice mist blows by. I knew it. So you saved that nice girl. How lovely. That sweet girl, she worried about this old woman, even as I helped her. That's... I think there are other lines, too, that state that she's a woman. But that's, I guess, the most immediately obvious one, that she says she's a woman right there. I just remember on, I think, the VGDC forums, one time, the users in that forum were saying that this character was a guy, just an old man, which I didn't see. I didn't think of that at all. And, yeah, they were incorrect. So, that's all there is to that story, really. And then I stay silent for the rest of this 3-hour recording, because that's apparently how long I played this session. No way I'm gonna commentate that long. Oh, this part, yeah, you have to leave this zone in order to turn into a wolf Link. Because if you're on the other complete side of the village, the complete opposite end, and you're way out of sight of the old woman, Midna will still say, no, no, someone will see you. You wouldn't want to scare someone, or whatever she says. You have to leave the area and come back, which is just ever so slightly bothersome if you want to warp somewhere and you have to leave the area first. I guess it makes sense. I can't really argue with the creators for doing it that way, because, yeah, if you came up to the old woman as a wolf, just kind of charging towards her, then she would probably get a heart attack and die. But still, just a little bit inconvenient. Came back for this Howling Stone, and I forgot how to listen to it, so I just did this instead to determine where all the notes were. I didn't have to come back to the Howling Stone right away, but that's what I did. There's a better place that I could have put that in later. Because if you go to this village again in a little while, it'll be infested with cats, and there's a fun minigame that you can play, and you could just do the Howling Stone then instead. Now let's play the game of, can you guess what this song is based on these notes? The answer is, no you can't. unless you're perhaps very musically trained. Yep, it's the main theme of the game, which brings up the Golden Wolf, who is actually Link canonically in the Hylian Historia book, I guess. Yeah, it makes him show up in the most epic of places, which is right in front of Hyrule Castle. But it's strange that this is like the big climactic Golden Wolf song reveal, and you find it in the backyard of a house in an abandoned village someplace, just kind of off on a beaten path in the map, next to a chicken. Like that's where you find this. But whatever. So as we bump into things, I'm thinking about my dog who frequently bumped into things. She's dead now. And now I've made everyone sad. No, it's not really a big deal so much anymore, but it was sad at the time. But as she got older, she was she did not have the greatest sight. And so she would walk for a little bit and just bump, and then keep walking, slightly adjusting where she went. So, I remember with that Breath of the Wild tangent video that I recorded, I noticed things in that video that were kind of funny to me, listening back, because I did record the tangent first, and then I played 20 minutes of this game afterwards to match up with what I was saying. And as I was saying, like, you know, Breath of the Wild doesn't look all that interesting to me. It has a big open world that looks pretty empty. As I'm saying that, I'm pretty sure Wolf Link on the screen was running across a vast open empty desert. So, it's just, that's given me thoughts like, am I a hypocrite for saying there are certain things about that game that I don't like when they're present in this game? But I'll talk about that more in a second. This is another cutscene that I don't really want to talk over too much. All I will say about it is, if you cut the text off really quickly, Ilia talks for way too long after it's gone. But it's kind of a sweet scene. She's finally getting her memory back. She finally remembers that this playthrough exists. Link. This is the scene that I think about when well, this is the scene that I was thinking about whenever I made the decision not to change Link's name at the beginning. Because, in general, like I think I've said, I like to keep Link's name authentic and keep the game just kind of as it is, and as it was intended to be, from a story standpoint. But in this particular case, I feel like it's most appropriate for him to just have his own name. Mallow's face. Always the most unamused face, but that is especially funny to me. Just, she has her memory back. Whatever. I'm a baby, I have a deep voice. Please, Link, take it. And then she gives us the horse call charm, I think is what it's called. I'm not actually sure. Well, okay, just the horse call. Maybe it was called Ilia's charm before? That might be right. What this means is that we can now call Epona at any point that we want to. Wait, was Epona her name? I think I changed the name. I don't remember what Epona's name was. Whatever. Horse. Let's just go with horse. Yeah, the sad thing is, at this point in the game, you really have no reason to use the horse anymore, since you can warp anywhere. And, that's also one of my bases for what I was talking about a second ago, is I was wondering, like, am I a hypocrite for saying there's something that I don't like about one game when I like it in a different game? And I don't think that I would be if I know what I like and I know what I enjoy and what I don't. but sometimes it's really difficult to explain why, because opinions have so many nuances to them, and so many little things that can make one thing feel totally different from another when it seems like it's almost nothing at all. And so in this game's case, this game has what could be considered a pretty big, empty, open world, because Hyrule Field is humongous, and you don't really do anything in it. But at the same time, it's not really a big part of the game, or at least it doesn't have to be, because you can spend so much time just... You can just warp almost anywhere after a certain point of the game. There's not really much exploring to do afterwards, and I decided to use the horse call here because I wanted to give Epona a bit more screen time. Because most people wouldn't, I don't think. Man, it's a little bit faster. Epona is faster than Wolf Link. There's just usually not that much of a reason to use anything except for Wolf Link's form. Yeah, also with the desert, like, I don't mind that this game has a big, empty desert, because you really, for the most part, only have to go through it the one time. And you get the idea, like, okay, this is a big, empty desert. It's kind of new territory, essentially. It's just, you realize that the world is bigger as a result of entering that desert area. And once it gets the point across, you're no longer in the desert area. You can just keep going everywhere in a relatively fast fashion. I like that in Paper Mario as well. The first one, where it has the dry desert, and it takes up like 42 somewhat large screens. I think that's how many it is, I'm not really sure, but regardless, it is a lot of screens, and most of them look almost identical, if not identical. But it gets the point across that it is a desert. And it's meant to make that one area seem big, but the rest is more efficient. We got a book!